At 11:23 at night, a Mountaire Farms live haul truck turns off a two-lane road in Sussex County, Delaware, and pulls onto the gravel drive of a contract grower farm. The truck carries empty transport modules on the way in. It will leave carrying full ones. The farm's 4 grow-out houses hold 120,000 broilers at day 41, one day past the target harvest window's opening. The catching crew that arrived 20 minutes earlier is already working the first house in darkness. Moving through the building with the low red lights that keep birds calm enough to handle without the pile-on behavior that bright conditions trigger. Each bird weighs between 6.1 and 6.4 pounds. They load into the transport modules at 9 birds per crate, stacked 6 crates high on the flatbed. Sussex County, Delaware, the southernmost county of the first state, flat, sandy-soiled agricultural, the Delmarva Peninsula's broiler production core, where the contract growing model has operated continuously since the 1940s, and where the density of grow-out houses across the landscape makes commercial poultry as much a part of the county's identity as the coastal resort towns 30 miles east. Mountaire Farms coordinates approximately 750 contract growers, raising chickens for 4 processing facilities in Delaware, Maryland, North Carolina, and Arkansas. The system produces over 1 billion pounds of chicken annually. The company owns its breeder flocks, its hatcheries, its feed mills, and its further processing operations. A vertically integrated structure where every input to the grow-out arrives from Mountaire and every finished bird returns to Mountaire. 1 billion pounds, 750 growers, 4 plants, 4 states. The live haul truck at the Sussex County farm is one of dozens running this same pattern tonight across the Delmarva Peninsula and beyond. Each one moving birds toward a processing plant on the schedule the production calendar requires. Mountaire Farms traces its operational roots to the Delmarva Peninsula's mid-20th century broiler industry expansion, the same geographic and agricultural context that shaped Purdue, Tyson's Delmarva operations, and the regional integrators that made the peninsula one of the most concentrated broiler production geographies in the United States. The Delmarva Peninsula's broiler industry began not with a corporation, but with a mistake. Sussex County farmer Cecile Steele received 500 chicks instead of the 50 she ordered in 1923 and raised them for meat. By 1926, she was producing 25,000 birds annually. Her neighbors replicated the model. The industry that grew from that origin operated for 2 decades as a dispersed collection of independent growers, selling to independent processors, a market structure whose fragmentation created the inefficiencies and price volatility that integration solved. Mountaire's development followed the integration logic that all successful poultry companies applied. Control the inputs, guarantee the market, standardize the production, capture the margin at each step. The company that emerged from this process owns the genetics in the breeder flocks, owns the hatcheries that produce the chicks, owns the feed mills that supply the rations, owns the processing plants that harvest the finished birds, and owns the further processing facilities that convert commodity chicken into the value-added products that retail and food service customers pay premium prices for. The 750 contract growers who raise the birds between hatchery and processing plant provide the one element that the integration model does not own: the land, the grow-out housing, the utilities, and the labor. They provide these under contract terms that specify the inputs Mountaire delivers, the protocols the grow-out must follow, and the settlement formula that determines what the grower earns per pound of finished bird delivered. The 4 processing plants that anchor Mountaire's geographic footprint, Delaware, Maryland, North Carolina, Arkansas, each define a draw circle of approximately 40 to 60 miles, within which the contract growers in that plant's network operate. The Delmarva Peninsula plants draw from the peninsula's dense agricultural landscape. The North Carolina and Arkansas plants draw from the rural agricultural regions of their respective states, where the same flat terrain, available labor, and agricultural infrastructure that made Delmarva suitable for broiler production replicated itself across the American South. Mountaire's breeder operations and hatcheries are the biological origin of every pound of chicken the 750 grower network produces. The commercial broiler that Mountaire raises is a Cobb 500 Ross 308 or equivalent cross. Genetics developed by primary breeder companies through selection programs that produce the modern broiler's performance profile over decades. Mountaire operates in the multiplication tier, taking primary breeder stock and producing the commercial chicks that flow to contract growers through the hatchery network. Breeder flocks on company-owned farms receive the management program that drives fertile egg production through the hen's productive life, controlled lighting programs that trigger sexual maturity at the target age of approximately 22 to 24 weeks, nutrition that shifts from growth-oriented to reproduction-supporting formulations at that transition, and the natural mating management that commercial broiler breeders allow, unlike commercial turkey production, which requires artificial insemination. Broiler breeders mate naturally in the breeder house. Fertile eggs move from breeder farms to Mountaire's hatcheries within 24 to 48 hours of laying. Each hatchery runs the 21-day biological clock. Setter incubators for the first 18 days at 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit, with programmed turning and humidity control. Transfer to hatches for the final 3 days, and hatch on day 21. The chicks that emerge undergo vaccination: Newcastle disease, Marek's disease, infectious bronchitis, quality sorting, and boxing before the delivery trucks load for the contract farms. The hatchery output that supports 4 processing plants operating at combined daily capacity in the hundreds of thousands of birds requires production measured in millions of chicks per week across the full network. Each hatchery serves a defined cluster of plants within its delivery range. A chick placed on a Sussex County grower farm at day 0 spends 38 to 42 days there before the live haul truck arrives. During those 38 to 42 days, the hatchery that produced it has already produced the next flock's worth of chicks for that same farm. The pipeline never stops. The hatchery produces every week because every week farms across the network complete their grow-out and need replacement placements. The 750 contract growers in Mountaire's network span the full range of grower operation scales, from 2 house farms producing 50,000 to 60,000 birds per flock, to 6 house operations producing 180,000 or more, all operating under the contract structure that defines the economic and operational relationship between grower and integrator. Mountaire supplies the chick at placement. Mountaire supplies the feed, are delivered to the farm on a schedule that the flock's age and consumption rate dictates, with ration formulas that shift through starter, grower, and finisher phases as the bird ages. Mountaire supplies the veterinary oversight, the technical service, and the guaranteed market, the live haul truck that arrives on the scheduled catch date to take the birds. The grower supplies the grow-out houses, structures built to Mountaire's specifications for width, length, ventilation capacity, a feeding system and watering system, representing capital investments of $300,000 to $600,000 per house, depending on size and equipment. A 4-house grower operation has invested $1.2 million to $2.4 million in facilities that exist for the single purpose of raising Mountaire's chickens. The land, the utilities, the insurance, and the ongoing maintenance of those facilities belong to the grower. A settlement payment, what the grower receives per pound of bird delivered, uses the tournament structure that most integrated broiler contracts employ. Growers whose flocks achieve feed conversion and mortality performance above the settlement group average receive a payment above the base rate. Growers whose flocks fall below average receive less. The tournament aligns grower incentives with performance without requiring Mountaire to specify exactly what management decisions achieve the result. Each grower manages toward the best outcome their facilities and skill can produce because the financial return directly reflects where they land in the group ranking. The service technician who visits each grower farm weekly translates Mountaire's production standards into practical guidance for that farm's specific conditions. A technician carrying a territory of 25 to 40 farms must identify developing problems. A ventilation issue in week 2, a water pressure drop in week 3, a litter moisture problem building in week 4, before they cost the grower a performance deduction and cost Mountaire a below-target flock. The technician is the operational link between the company's standardized protocols and the individual variation that 750 different farms represent. Feed mills with computerized formulation systems supply the rations that Mountaire's 750 grower network consumes across 4 states. The feed formulation that Mountaire's nutritional team specifies for each phase of the grow-out reflects the genetic potential of the commercial cross being raised, the target market weight the processing plant needs, and the ingredient prices that the commodity markets present at each formulation update. A broiler ration optimized for a 6.2-pound market weight bird at day 42 differs from one optimized for a 7.5-pound roaster at day 52 in its amino acid profile, energy density, and the additive package that supports the growth rate and feed conversion the target performance requires. A computerized formulation systems at Mountaire's feed mills allow the nutritional team to adjust ration specifications as ingredient prices shift, substituting one protein source for another that delivers equivalent amino acid profiles at lower cost, or modifying the energy source blend when corn and soybean meal price relationships move. The least cost formulation that meets the nutritional specification changes continuously with commodity prices, and the mill's formulation software executes the adjustment with each new price update. Delivery scheduling to 750 farms across 4 states requires a logistics system that tracks each farm's current flock age, consumption rate, and bin inventory and routes feed trucks to arrive before the bin empties. A farm that runs out of feed at day 25, with 15 days of grow-out remaining, loses feed conversion performance that cannot be recovered in the remaining days. The lost feed conversion shows up at settlement as a performance deduction that the farm didn't cause through management failure, but that the logistics system failed to prevent. The withdrawal feed specification, the final ration fed in the days before harvest that contains no feed additives with pre-slaughter withdrawal periods, must reach each farm on the schedule the live haul date requires. A logistics error that delivers a standard grower ration instead of the withdrawal feed creates a withdrawal period compliance problem that the plant's receiving system must flag and resolve before those birds can be processed. The 4 processing plants that Mountaire operates across Delaware, Maryland, North Carolina, and Arkansas run the automated evisceration, chilling, cut-up, and further processing operations that convert the 750 grower network's live bird output into the packaged products that reach retail and food service customers. Automated evisceration lines at each plant run at speeds measured in birds per minute, with USDA FSIS inspectors present at continuous inspection stations throughout the harvest and processing shifts. The evisceration sequence, neck skin removal, vent opening, viscera withdrawal, lung removal, internal wash, proceeds through automated equipment stations at line speeds that require the entire sequence to complete within the time each bird's position on the overhead shackle line allows. USDA inspection at the carcass inspection station following evisceration operates at those same line speeds, with inspectors making pass/trim/condemn determinations on each carcass within the 2 to 3 seconds the line provides. The chilling system that follows evisceration brings the carcass internal temperature from approximately 100 degrees Fahrenheit at the kill floor to 40 degrees or below before the product moves to cut-up or cold storage. Mountaire's plants use immersion chilling, large water-filled chiller tanks where carcasses travel through progressively colder water stages over a 45 to 60-minute chill cycle. The chill water temperature, flow rate, oil and contact time parameters in the plant's HACCP plan establish the critical limits that the chilling step must meet at every bird before the product leaves the chiller. Cut-up lines divide chilled carcasses into the bone-in pieces, boneless fillets, and portion forms that the plant's daily order book specifies. The product mix that a given Mountaire plant produces on any given day reflects the customer orders it is filling. The balance of fresh whole birds, bone-in breast and thigh, or boneless breast fillet, wing sections, and the further processing input forms that the value-added facilities downstream require. The cut-up lines yield on each product form, tracked against the USDA measured carcass weight at grading, generates the performance data that the plant manager and the grower's settlement calculations both depend on. Mountaire's further processing operations that produce marinated and value-added products represent the highest margin tier of the production system, where commodity chicken muscle becomes the branded, flavored, and preparation-ready products that retail and food service buyers specify and pay for. marinated products begin with the injection step. Fresh bone-in or boneless chicken pieces moving through a multi-needle injector that delivers marinade, phosphate solution, salt, natural flavors, and in retail formulas, the specific flavor profiles that Mountaire's product development team has qualified through consumer testing, directly into the muscle tissue at controlled pressure and needle spacing. Injection levels of 8 to 15% of the piece weight increase the value per pound sold while improving the eating quality attributes, juiciness, flavor intensity, that the marinated product's retail positioning promises. The food service product forms that Mountaire's further processing operations produce for restaurant chain and institutional customers carry specifications that commodity fresh chicken cannot satisfy. Portion weight tolerance of plus or minus half an ounce. Consistent marinade pickup across a case of 40 pieces. Specific seasoning profiles that a restaurant chain's culinary team has standardized across thousands of locations. Mountaire's further processing facilities deliver to these tolerances because the food service customers who require them represent the revenue stream that commands the highest per-pound margin the system generates. The cold chain distribution that moves Mountaire's fresh and further processed products from 4 processing plants to retail and food service customers across the Mid-Atlantic, Southeast, and beyond requires refrigerated logistics that maintain product temperature through every transfer point, plant dock to distribution center to customer receiving. The Delmarva Peninsula plant's geographic position within overnight truck range of the Boston to Washington corridor provides the same proximity advantage that Purdue's Delmarva operations use, the densest consumer market concentration in the country, reachable from Sussex County, Delaware, in under 4 hours. 1 billion pounds of chicken annually from 750 growers across 4 states. The Mountaire Farms system that produces this volume is the same model that the Delmarva Peninsula's broiler industry proved out across the mid-20th century, applied at a scale and geographic spread that the peninsula's 1940s pioneers could not have anticipated but would recognize in its structure. The integrator owns the genetics, the hatcheries, the feed, and the processing. The grower owns the buildings and provides the labor. The contract specifies the terms. The settlement measures the result. What differs at Mountaire's current scale is the precision of the systems connecting the parts, the computerized feed formulation that adjusts rations to commodity price movements in real time. The GPS-tracked live haul fleet whose transit times feed into the plant's receiving schedule and the carcass quality monitoring that links transit conditions to processing outcomes. The further processing lines producing marinated products to food service tolerances that require sensor-level consistency no manual operation could deliver. At 11:23 at night in Sussex County, the catching crew finishes the first house and moves to the second. The live haul truck's transport modules fill. In 34 miles and 45 minutes, those birds will reach the plant's receiving dock. The receiving system will log the delivery. The kill floor will be ready. As 1 billion pounds moves one farm at a time, one night at a time, through 4 states and 4 plants, in a pipeline that the 750 grower network feeds continuously. The catching crew is already in the second house, If this detailed look at the contract grower network, hatchery operations, computerized feed systems, automated processing lines, and further processing capabilities behind Mountaire Farms' billion-pound annual production gave you a sharper understanding of how vertically integrated poultry production operates across the Delmarva Peninsula and beyond, hit the like button and help the algorithm find more viewers who want this level of operational detail. Subscribe for more deep dives into the production systems and supply chains behind everyday food. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from. This audience spans more geography than we expected when we started, and every location in these threads reminds us why this content matters.